sensationalizing violence. It critiques the media's role in sensation, sensa- sen- sensa- sensationalizing. Ah,
2 years ago, the name.
Well, he's not. There's a monster.
what drives a man to madness? And how does society contribute to his downfall? The fandom surrounding Joker is a fascinating blend of two distinct groups: fans of the comics and fans of cinematic storytelling. Both demographics were satisfied with the original film's critical acclaim and monetary success, which naturally led to heightened expectations for the sequel, Folie à Deux. Which naturally led to heightened expectations for the sequel, Folie à Deux. When the sequel was announced, anticipation surged, as audiences were eager to see how the story would unfold. However, the conversations sparked by the first film were often alarming, bordering on the romanticization of a serial killer. Many discussions surrounding the Joker character highlighted disturbing takes on violence and mental health, which many believed influenced the tone and themes of Folie à Deux. This speaks to a broader societal issue: the lack of understanding surrounding mental health, which affects not just the fans of comic book movies, but society as a whole. While we have made strides in mental health awareness, we still struggle with grasping the complexities and dangers of these issues. The nature of heroism and villainy has become increasingly blurred, with fans embracing darker themes and the portrayal of violence in mainstream media. This trend is troubling, as it reflects a cultural shift that goes beyond the narrative of a film about a clown. While it's essential to acknowledge that the fans did not create the film or its narrative flaws, the conversations that arise post viewing can be disconcerting. Many viewers, including myself, find darker movies tackling deep psychological aspects way more compelling than traditional narratives. Yet we must also recognize the potential consequences of glorifying violence. These discussions raise critical questions about how violence is interpreted and the implications of idolizing anti heroes like the Joker. Even though the first film didn't directly inspire real life violence, the conversations it sparked are significant and worth exploring. The Joker is an incredibly unique character, known for his chaotic nature and elusive backstory. In the comics, he often exists without a definitive origin, with tragic allusions but no concrete narratives. One of my favorite interpretations is found in the comic The Killing Joke, which hints at a tragic past but leaves much more to the imagination. When the announcement of a Joker movie came out, it surprised many. The idea of a standalone film focused on this chaotic villain, especially without the presence of Batman, was met with much skepticism. However, the film became a massive success, breaking the $1 billion mark at the box office. The involvement of the Batman character, even in name, significantly contributed to its financial triumph. It's crucial to distinguish between the Joker of the Batman lore and Todd Phillips' Joker, as they represent very different narratives and characterizations. The more one searches for a traditional Batman style looking Joker in Phillips's films, the more they are likely to feel disappointed and frustrated. If this film were simply titled Joe, it likely wouldn't have achieved the same level of success, as the Joker name carries a significant weight in pop culture. Arthur Fleck and the Joker are indeed separate entities, not in the split personality sense alluded to in the film, but in the understanding that Arthur is not destined to clash with Batman or take over Gotham. The subtle references to Batman in both films can be seen as nothing more than Easter eggs rather than essential plot points. By establishing Arthur and the Joker as distinct characters, we can approach Joker and Folie à Deux as standalone stories. These films explore a man in pain, one who suffers from physical, emotional, and mental issues deeply rooted in his childhood and past experiences. Arthur's struggle with societal rejection and desperate need for human connection resonate with the contemporary audience, particularly given the rising statistics highlighting male isolation and mental health issues. This connection likely contributed to the film's emphatic fandom, as it touches on themes relevant to current societal challenges. The first film dives deep into what transforms a broken man into the Joker, exploring his psychology and the systematic failures he faces. Many viewers were hesitant about a sequel because they envisioned Arthur as a martyr, a character who took action and emerged on top. They wanted him to remain a symbol of rebellion against a world that cast him aside. However, Todd Phillips's narrative serves as a commentary on society's treatment of mental health and the consequences of neglect. This Joker is not a larger than life character. He's not ready to clash with Batman. He is a man grappling with his identity and circumstances. This distinction is often where the reception of the sequel falters. Some expected to see the Joker wreaking havoc, but I never anticipated him becoming a criminal mastermind. When Arthur states there is no Joker, it's just Arthur, it encapsulates the essence of this narrative, emphasizing that the focus is on the man behind the mask, struggling with his demons. The character of Lee serves as a compelling addition to Arthur's story in Folie à Deux. Her presence underscores Arthur's vulnerabilities. Her presence underscores Arthur's vulnerabilities. Her presence underscores vulnerabilities. Arthur's vulnerabilities. Arthur's vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities. Illustrating just how weak and susceptible he is to manipulation and control. His desperate need for human contact and affection makes him an easy target for Lee. And this is something the people around him, from his lawyer to his guards, seem to recognize. Before diving into her impact on Arthur, it's essential to discuss Lee as a character in her own right. She is portrayed as an unreliable narrator, an unreliable character, much like Arthur, leaving viewers craving more depth and context in her scenes. Unfortunately, some of her moments were cut or left on the editing room floor, which is disappointing given Lady Gaga's undeniable potential as an actress. It often feels as though filmmakers lean on her musical talent rather than fully exploring her acting capabilities, which is a missed opportunity. This take on Harley Quinn is unique, especially in light of Margot Robbie's popular portrayal of the character. The decision to reimagine her identity in Folie à Deux was a bold movie, and it pays off by allowing Lee to be more than just a sidekick. The fact that she emerges as the manipulator in their relationship was and ultimately leaves Arthur adds an intriguing twist. However, the reasons behind her departure resonate deeply with the male experience, reflecting the complexities of attachment and rejection. Interestingly, while other adaptations often depict the Joker as mistreating Harley, this version flips that narrative, positioning Lee as a strong, educated woman with a psychology background who is drawn to Arthur's persona. Her fascination with the Joker character becomes an intriguing and interesting psychological study. Yet there is an element of caricature in her response to the reality of Arthur's character. When she discovers there is no true Joker behind the facade, her departure mirrors the audience's potential disappointment upon realizing the film's deeper, more complex themes. This aspect of her character adds another layer of commentary on expectations versus reality in storytelling. The relationship between Arthur and Lee is fraught with ambiguity, reflecting the complexities of toxic relationships, or what the younger generation might call situationships. Their interactions often leave viewers questioning what is real and what exists within their minds, mirroring the confusion found in many toxic dynamics. This exploration of madness is at the heart of the film, embodying the concept of a folie à deux, a shared madness between two individuals. The announcement of Folie à Deux as a sequel to the original Joker film sparked a variety of reactions among fans and critics alike. While the first film was a standalone exploration of Arthur Fleck's character, this sequel raises questions about how to continue a story that was deeply rooted in psychological realism. Overall, I think the film is a good continuation, as it delves into the consequences of the main character's actions and how he responds to the world's perception of him. Sequels often face the challenge of maintaining the integrity of the original narrative while expanding the universe and developing characters further. In the case of Folie à Deux, their introduction to new characters such as Lee adds layers to the story but also risks straying from the intense psychological focus that defined the first film. The bold direction taken with this sequel, particularly the idea of stripping Arthur of his glory and exploring how that impacts him, is intriguing, especially given that it also upsets many fans. However, the execution of these themes is a different story. The success of the original Joker film set a high bar for its sequel, creating expectations for both character development and thematic depth. Fans are left wondering how the filmmakers will balance the darker elements of Arthur's journey with the potential for new story arcs and character dynamics. I also believe that sequels in general have made movies less interesting, leading to a lack of standalone material that can thrive independently. This absence of variety can diminish the overall landscape of storytelling, as some narratives are enhanced by remaining self contained. One of the central challenges of sequels is the risk of diminishing returns. While Folie à Deux has been described as a pseudo musical, the incorporation of musical sequences can be polarizing, especially for viewers who are not fond of musical, i.e., me. For some, musical may kill or stall tension, distracting from the emotional weight of the story. Although I personally think that films like The Greatest Showman and La La Land are five-star movies, masterpieces, if you ask me, I don't share the same sentiment for Folie à Deux. In this case, the direction to make the film a musical felt unnecessary to me. Whether it was a means to communicate Arthur's thoughts or to showcase Lady Gaga's talents, I didn't find it pertinent to the story. That said, I must acknowledge that the cinematography was spectacular. There were numerous visually striking shots that could easily serve as posters. The costumes and sets, particularly during the pseudo talk show musical scenes, were, were beautifully designed and added to the film's aesthetic appeal. At times, I found myself confused about whether the characters were singing in real time or is it part of the musical realm. While the visual elements were impressive, I honestly could have done without the musical numbers. At times, I found myself confused. I believe that the film's deviation from a traditional musical format held it back a bit. But I understand the creative direction they were attempting to pursue. Folie à Deux serves as a powerful mirror, reflecting societal attitudes towards mental health, violence, and the troubling idealization of chaos. The film prompts viewers to consider how society often overlooks mental health issues until they manifest in violent ways, as exemplified by Arthur Fleck's transformation into the Joker. It critiques the media's role in sensa- sensationalizing violence. It critiques the media's role in sensation sensa- sen- sensa- Sensationalizing. Oh man. Sens 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 sensationalizing. It critiques the media's role in sensationalizing violence, which can lead to a problematic glorification of anti-heroes and complicates the distinction between villain and victim. Oh, oh my god. Oh man. Oh my god. Ooh. Sensationalizing. Sensationalizing violence, which can which can lead to a problematic glorification of anti-heroes and complicates the distinction between victim and villain. The film evokes sympathy for Arthur, but also challenges audiences to confront their complicity in romanticizing villainy. Themes of isolation and societal rejection are further amplified in the sequel, particularly through Arthur's interactions with other characters and his evolving relationship with Lee. Ultimately, Folie à Deux encourages a deeper reflection on the complex interplay between societal influences and individual actions. Many DC fans expressed disappointment with Folie à Deux, largely due to their expectations that it would fit into a larger narrative of a DC universe. Fans anticipated a traditional hero villain dynamic that is typical in superhero films, but the sequel diverged from this, focusing instead on character development and psychological depth. Criticism regarding pacing and writing is valid, but much of the backlash seems to be rooted in fans feeling let down by their own expectations. The film's departure from conventional DC storytelling means it is not a typical Joker film in the way they envisioned. As a result, the film challenges fans to reconsider what a DC film can be, even if it means stepping away from the expected hero versus villain narrative. It seems that the director, Todd Phillips, aimed to undo the impact of the first Joker film by recontextualizing Arthur Fleck's character. The first movie inadvertently led to a certain idolization of a psychopath and serial killer, allowing audiences to empathize with Arthur rather than critically examine the psychological implications and the consequences of neglecting mental health. In Folie à Deux, Phillips appears to strive for a different outcome by portraying Arthur as a broken man navigating the repercussions of his vile decisions. This shift aims to tear down the glorified image of the character that emerged from the first film, emphasizing his weakness and the reality of his circumstances. The sequel enables Phillips to rest his case, particularly as Arthur poignantly states in this film. The fact that Phillips reportedly stepped back from DC Studios on the day of the premiere suggests he may be content with the narrative he crafted, signaling a desire not to elaborate further on Arthur's glorified persona. This intentional shift encourages audiences to confront the darker realities of Arthur's life and the consequences of his actions rather than romanticizing his story or journey. The courtroom scenes in Folie à Deux stand out as some of the film's best moments, as they effectively highlight Arthur's internal struggle with his detachment from reality. They reveal that Arthur is essentially playing pretend, showcasing his lack of understanding of the gravity of his actions. While there is some exposition regarding past events, these scenes deliver key insights, particularly when Zazie Beetz' character discusses how Arthur's mother fabricated stories that shaped his identity and aspirations, influencing his decisions and his desire to be a comedian. A standout moment occurs when Puddles takes the stand, leading to a poignant back and forth with Arthur. This exchange forces Arthur to break character as the Joker, providing a rare glimpse into his vulnerability and shame. It encapsulates the film's theme that emotional harm can be inflicted without physical contact, emphasizing the profound impact of psychological trauma. Overall, the courtroom scenes serve as a crucial exploration of Arthur's fractured psyche, revealing the depth of his struggles and the consequences of a life shaped by neglect and delusion. Side characters in Folia do play vital roles in emphasizing the themes of neglect, isolation, and the struggle for understanding in Arthur Fleck's life. Arthur's lawyer stands out as one of the few characters who genuinely cares about his well being, sanity, and legal defense. The actress's performance conveys a sense of compassion and concern, making her a believable ally for Arthur. However, it's very interesting to note how her previous role in Get Out as a hypnotic tea drinker lingers in my mind. The portrayal of the guards in the asylum is troubling, as they exemplify the flaws within the justice and mental health systems. The brutal treatment of inmates, including the shocking act of one guard choking an inmate to death, underscores the violence and dehumanization that can occur in such environments. The implied assault on Arthur adds another layer of trauma to his experience, contributing to his overall sense of helplessness and despair. The death of the inmate who is close to Arthur serves as a pivotal moment in the narrative. This tragically likely contributes to Arthur's realization that he is not the Joker, but rather a flawed individual grappling with the consequences of his actions. It marks a turning point in his character arc, pushing him to confront his identity and the chaos surrounding him. The standout performance by Mr. Puddles during the court scene is a highlight of the film. His interaction with Arthur not only showcases the emotional depth of the characters, also reveals Arthur's vulnerability. In this moment, we see a breaking of character, allowing audiences to witness the inner turmoil that defines Arthur's journey. The brief appearances of the two characters who help Arthur escape post court adds an interesting layer to the narrative. Their excitement about the chaos in the city and their reference to Arthur as the Joker, regardless of his makeup, reinforces Arthur's feelings of alienation and guilt. This further emphasizes the theme of how society perceives him, reducing him to a label rather than recognizing his humanity. Overall, these side characters are instrumental in framing Arthur's journey, highlighting his struggles and the societal dynamics that contribute to his transformation. They serve as reflections of the world around him, illustrating how disconnected and chaotic it can be. Arthur Fleck is portrayed as a profoundly tragic character whose story resonates with themes of mental health, societal neglect, and the quest for identity. His struggles are compounded by the grim realities of his environment, particularly as a resident of Gotham City, often depicted as one of the most unforgiving fictional cities. In current times, we have seen a rise of misunderstood characters in media. While such narratives can provide rich storytelling opportunities, they can also present challenges in the interpretation of audiences and how they engage with these characters. The glorification of violence and the romanticization of troubled figures can be problematic, as it may lead to dangerous misconceptions about real life issues. The development of Arthur in Folie à Deux suggests a deliberate choice by Todd Phillips to conclude the story with consequences for Arthur's actions, contrasting the first film's ending. The decision reinforces the idea that Arthur's journey is not one of triumph, but rather a cautionary exploration of the societal failures that lead to his tragic fate. The Batman has been widely praised for its gritty, grounded, psychologically complex portrayal of the character. Reeves' vision presents a more nuanced and introspective version of the Dark Knight, moving away from the larger than life heroics often associated with the character. Given the acclaim surrounding Reeves' interpretation, it's very interesting that some viewers were still hoping to see Batman appear in the Joker films. This suggests that there may be a lingering expectations or desire among certain audiences to see the traditional superhero villain dynamic play out on the big screen. The fact that audiences are eager to see Batman's presence in the Joker films, despite the acclaimed work being done with the character in other projects, highlights the complexity of adapting iconic comic book characters. It suggests that there is room for multiple coexisting interpretations that can offer diverse perspectives and enrich the overall narrative. Cinematography in Folie à Deux plays a crucial role in conveying Arthur's emotional landscape. The use of color palettes, lighting, and framing helps to create an atmosphere that reflects Arthur's mental state. For instance, the film often employs muted tones and shadows mirroring Arthur's descent into darkness and despair. The frequent use of close ups captures the nuances of Joaquin Phoenix's performance, allowing viewers to connect deeply with Arthur's internal struggles. These intimate shots emphasize his vulnerabilities and isolation, making his emotional turmoil palpable. This visual language enhances the overall themes of the film, illustrating the stark divide between Arthur's dreams and the harshness of his existence. Audience reactions to Folie à Deux have been notably polarized. While many viewers praise the film for its bold storytelling, character depth, and exploration of complex themes, others express discomfort with its portrayal of violence and mental health. This division speaks to the film's inability to evoke strong emotions and provoke discussions about its themes and depictions. In the climactic moments of Folie à Deux, the character who kills Arthur can be seen as a nod to the legacy of Heath Ledger's portrayal as the Joker. This connection serves as a homage to one of the most iconic performances in film history, celebrating the impact Ledger had on the character's evolution in popular culture. Some viewers may interpret this moment as a way to acknowledge the depth and complexity that Ledger brought to the role, reinforcing the idea that Arthur's journey is part of a larger narrative surrounding the Joker. While some fans may worry that this reference diminishes the uniqueness of Arthur's character or threatens the integrity of Christopher Nolan's trilogy, it's essential to view it as an admiration rather than a direct comparison. The two portrayals, while sharing the same character, exist in different narrative contexts and explore distinct themes. Arthur Fleck's story in Folie à Deux is rooted in the exploration of mental health and societal neglect, whereas Ledger's Joker is a chaotic force that thrives on anarchy and disruption. The inclusion of this homage can also be seen as an Easter egg for fans, adding layers to the narrative without overshadowing Arthur's journey. This moment recognizes the significance of Ledger's contributions to the Joker's legacy while allowing Folie à Deux to stand out on its own as a unique interpretation of the character. It invites viewers to appreciate the depths of the Joker character across different adaptations rather than fearing that one diminishes the other. The ambiguous nature of the ending leaves room for interpretation. Arthur's final moments can be seen as a commentary on the cynical nature of violence and the societal failures that contribute to the creation of figures like the Joker. It raises questions about whether Arthur's transformation is a tragic inevitability or a conscious choice to reject the constraints of his previous life. In summary, cinematography, audience reactions, and the ending of All You Do work in tandem to create a powerful and thought provoking narrative. The film's visual storytelling enhances the emotional depth of Arthur's character, while the polarizing reactions reflect the complexities of its themes. Overall, 3.5 on Letterbox. But the most important thing is thank you for giving me your time today. Peace.